Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm so excited for season 2 and the great guests you're going to hear from, their struggles, how they overcame their struggles, their triumphs. Through personal and business life, I think they're tied together, and we're going to share great stories about that. This show isn't just about me. It takes a lot of good people working with me. Among them is my partner, H7 Network, and Clay Hicks. Building relationships, building community is the mission of H7 Network. They want to create a network of champions where everybody wins. Find out more at h7network.com. And we hope to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you through our show. Enjoy the show. We'll talk to you on the other side. And this is your host, Steve Ramona, with a new episode of this incredible podcast, Doing Business with the Servant's Heart. And I've got a true servant here that delves into diversity, which I'm very excited about. It's an up and coming, and we were just talking before the show how important it is. And she's going to delve into it with us today. Katherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. I've really been looking forward to this conversation.
This is going to be awesome. So diversity, it's a hot topic right now. Let's talk about it. Why'd you get into it?
Why did I get into it? Because I saw how messed up things were and how confused people were on this topic. So, background, I actually have 6 invisible disabilities. So, an invisible disability just means it's not immediately obvious when you look at a person. That's all that means. And I have 6, which is a lot. And true story, you'll like this. I once had I was at a company and we were very small. So we used Aflac for part of our insurance coverage at the time. And I was about 25, 26 at this time. And I signed up for my Aflac benefits, and the representative turned all my paperwork in. And then I got a call from the call center, and they said, "Oh, Miss McCord, we're so sorry, but we have your age wrong. So we need to verify your birth date." And so I verified it, and there was this long silence. And they go, "Wait, are you Katherine McCord who works at yada, yada, yada?" They go through the whole thing, and yeah. And they said, "Does this match your medical history?" And they read it off. I said, "Yes." They go, "Oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We thought you were older because of everything that was on the medical sheet."
Oh my God.
It was so funny. I died laughing. I was like, this is the day that I was told I was secretly old by Affleck. And by the way, love Aflac. This is not anti-Aflac. Huge fan of them and their benefits, by the way.
Right.
And their staff was wonderful. They were so embarrassed, but I thought it was hysterical. But it is funny because if you read my medical chart, I do sound like an old person. But so I have these invisible disabilities, and I've had the earliest noticeable one was when I was 4. Some of them are neurodiversities, which simply means a medically visible and or diagnosable difference in how a person processes information or stimuli. That's all that means. So think like ADHD, autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia, Tourette's, even things like epilepsy and cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injuries. These things all, change how we process information. And my earliest one was my obsessive compulsive disorder was realized about the time I was 4 years old by my mother. She says, I can't remember now what it was I was doing, but she walked in the room and goes, "Oh, that's not right." Just kind of went, "Oh, wait a minute. That's unusual." Wow. But God loved them. Both of my parents never made me feel like there was anything wrong. In fact, I didn't know that this was a diagnosable thing until I was drastically older, because all they did was help me learn to work with it, which was beautiful. It was an absolutely beautiful response. And so anyway, I got older and I had all these medical things and all of this, but none of that is what got me into it. And that really surprises people. Mm-hmm. But while I do relate to it from a firsthand standpoint, it was the things I saw, especially when I started working in leadership and hiring, that really drove me to get into it, because I realized how we were just doing things incorrectly, and we were putting people down that didn't need to be put down, and we were denying opportunities to people that shouldn't have them denied, and most of all, we were just doing things ineffectively, which, if with my particular type of obsessive compulsive disorder just does not work. So what's funny is I actually got into this line of work because my obsessive compulsive disorder compels me to fix things that are broken. So, so I got into this because my OCD couldn't tolerate things I was seeing in the world.
That's powerful. Now, what's the biggest challenge of diversity with the in employment and in the business space?
I'm I'm sorry, can you say
What's
that
the
again?
biggest challenge with diversity
Oh
in business?
gosh, getting people to understand inclusion. I think
Mm,
they get the diversity part. You know what I mean? And it's very easy to explain why diversity helps. You know, that part is pretty simple, but the
mm,
inclusion part is confusing to people. And a big part of it is that we are born with the ego defense, which is a natural occurring mechanism. Anybody could Google it, the ego defense mechanism. It's part of our biology. It's there for a purpose as we're developing as little humans. But once we become big humans as adults, it really just doesn't help us any longer.
mhm.
It stunts our growth. It keeps us from evolving and understanding more. So it's very important to learn to put that aside and instead to respond with curiosity. So instead of, oh yes, I'm right because I'm right because, or no, this is how I've always done it, so this is the right way, or this is what I'm used to seeing, so this is how it's right. Respond with curiosity and say things like, oh, okay, tell me more about that. Or can you tell me why this is wrong and how can I do it better?
Mm.
Explore it with people, explore things. And that's where we get stuck. People can't figure that out. And they just, this is what's normal to me. So this just must be what's normal for everybody. Well, no, that's not it, you know.
Right.
But once you kind of understand the science behind everything and why inclusion is so very important, it breeds innovation, it breeds creativity, it breeds higher profits. But Boston Consulting Group did a great study on that. Hewlett Packard has an entire program specifically for neurodiverse, not only inclusion, but cultivating the talent and encouraging people to work in ways that's natural for their brains. So if somebody wants to use stress balls while they work, great. If they want to pace back and forth while they work, great. Noise canceling headphones, all about it. Whatever it is, they work with the person to help them work naturally. And what they found is that team had 33% higher productivity than all of its counterparts
Wow.
because those people were allowed to be more healthy and natural. And that's inclusion. That's what it's all about. And Hewlett Packard was founded by a neurodiverse individual. Surprise, surprise. And so, so that's kind of how they got there. So it's proven that it helps with productivity. It's proven that it helps with all of this. But really, ultimately, it's part of integrity. You want your people to be healthy and happy, and
Yeah.
you can't do that when you're having to constantly do what's called masking, which is you kind of normalize yourself for everybody else in a way that's unhealthy to you. I'm not talking about using manners. That's not what I mean. I mean actively behaving in ways and trying to work in ways that are not natural for your brain.
So what do you do in a company as part of what you do? Do you walk in and help them with all this and kind of
Yeah.
set them up? Tell us about somebody's got a company, they come to see you. How do you get them all set up?
How do I get them all set up? Well, first of all, everything starts with understanding what inclusion means. So
Hmm.
I have a whole thing I go through with that. I actually teach people how to break down their ego defense and to start counteracting biases. Some of my favorite conversations are about the hilarious biases that we've come up with over the years, just weird stuff that's in our brains, right? And all it is that you've not given your brain proper information. So somewhere back
Mm.
there, even if it's from Hollywood and technically it's not true, your brain only has that information. So that's what it responds to when encountered with this. So for instance, one of my favorite examples is in the movie Split. They talk about multiple personality disorder, now known as dissociative identity disorder. And a lot of people's only encounter with this diagnosis is through movies, right? So I always tell people, okay, so just so you know, there's not a human being on the planet that's going to spontaneously grow muscle, start climbing walls, and eat people. Like it's just not a thing. You can relax. It's okay. And then I educate them more about the condition and what it actually means.
Yeah.
And a lot of people start to decompress. And when I've done a before and after survey about response to that diagnosis, it's drastically different. because it's just it, and of course the people knew that was fake. They know nobody can do that, right? But there was no other information in their brain, so their brain was still afraid of that diagnosis.
Ah, gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
working through that and helping people learn these things, and then once you get past those parts, that's the hard part because that's changing the human, right, and how we function. Then the rest is just policies, procedures, and guiding towards that. I'm very big on making accommodation standard options because
That's so beautiful.
54% of the yeah 54% of the population can benefit from some sort of accommodation. Why aren't they just standard options?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
How many companies are challenged with inclusion? It sounds like it's a large number.
Basically all. There are
Really?
very few companies really doing a good job, to be honest with you, and that's very frustrating when you're in space because what it is that human characteristic of, oh, it's good enough. We can pat ourselves in the back now. It's good enough, right? But it doesn't stop. It's a perpetual learning process,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like being in a relationship or raising children, right? It's a perpetual process of learning and trying to cultivate this state of being, and it means listening to people and asking people. I had a great conversation yesterday with a wonderful disability advocate, and actually surprisingly a jujitsu champion and model. I don't know how you become all those three things, but he did.
Wow.
It's super cool. His name's Alexander, and he's a fascinating human. And we had a whole conversation about just asking what people need. It's that simple. Just walking up, hey, what would make it more easy for you to work today? What would make your
Right.
work life or just your life more simple, right? Um, but yeah, so few companies are doing a good job. I would say Hewlett Packard is really leading.
Doing.
Um, the um, Virgin Records and that
Hmm.
whole kind of group, they're doing a great job. They're really trying. I think they miss the mark occasionally, but don't we all? That's okay. But they're really trying. There's a company that I worked with called Synchro that I came in specifically to help with their hiring, not for inclusion purposes. They were spectacularly on point, just nailing it every step of the way. So I mean, there are those companies out there, but I would say this is personal, just
Yeah.
what I've
What
kind
you've
of
seen.
accumulated. I would say I actually put numbers to it one time, and I came up with 82% of companies are desperate need, and about another 10% really still need help.
They still need.
So you're looking at about 92+% of companies that are still really struggling.
What are some of the benefits a company can get? We talked about productivity. What
Yeah.
are other things that you come in and bringing this inclusion,
Yeah.
SOP to their, what are they going to see? A business owner is listening to this today.
Oh yeah, it's actually great because you start to see very quick employee satisfaction, less call
Mm.
outs, higher retention, better health, um, better creativity. Actually, people start to breed it breeds more creativity and all of that. And there have also been some great studies there. Again, the production goes up. Um, and then the profits go up, right? And what else is interesting too is that customer service
Mm.
starts to go up. The customer satisfaction starts to go up because the humans are happier and they're doing more and they're working more quickly.
Yeah.
So things are happening more efficiently, more effectively. The humans are happier, they're healthier, things are going well. And then it just kind of opens the door for other types of what I call the real meat of the business to happen. It just kind of opens those doors up. And you see a lot less of people drudging into work every day. That like,
Yeah. It's
oh
not good.
God, it's here. Let me go spend 20 minutes at the coffee machine just to cope with the fact that I have to be here. No more of that.
No,
Yeah.
no,
And it's
that's
not just me. The other people I know that are doing similar work to what I do and really teaching true inclusion, not fractional inclusion, as I call it, meaning just for a specific group, they're seeing the same types of results.
let's flip it. Is there inclusion with customers as well, your customer clients?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Let's talk
Yeah, you
about that.
absolutely. Yeah, you have to be inclusive of your customers. In fact, that's one of the benefits to doing this internally because then you start to catch yourself and go, "Oh my gosh, we are missing the mark over here." Like for instance, one of the funniest things that people don't think of, and this falls into like marketing and sales and social
Mhm.
media work, or is the importance of different forms of communication and of inclusive communication. So making sure that you have captions on all of your videos, making sure that there are options for the visually impaired, having different types of learning styles involved. And that's for all humans, not just people with different diversities, but making sure that you're addressing visual, kinetic, and auditory elements all at the same time, making sure you're not accidentally causing seizures with your videos. Oh my God. I cannot tell you how many people I've had to look at their social media and go, please stop doing this. There should be no strobing effects. There should be no like bright spinny circles happening. I don't understand why that's a thing, but please don't do that. And things like that. And then understanding camera off meetings is not just important for your internal team, but your customers as well. So there's this big thing about Zoom now, right? Well, what if the person that you're Zooming with has a seizure disorder or an anxiety disorder or has cerebral palsy or has MS or one of these other million and one conditions that can make it difficult to be on camera and having to try to make eye contact through a screen? It's very important to start to understand that and to and as you interact with your customers to understand no contact, and what that can mean. And not everybody wants to or is physically comfortable shaking hands, things like that, and just really starting to open up your mind and realize, oh yeah, there's this whole other world. Same thing with sound and processing. So I read a fascinating article a while back about an Apple Store employee who realized that someone was visibly uncomfortable in their store because it was very loud and kind of overstimulating, which it's not normally, but this was on a particular sale day. And so they took the person over to a private office and helped them. And I thought that was so beautiful. I thought that was it was just such a wonderful recognition of, oh, this human is uncomfortable. I will fix it. No big deal. Handled it. No problem. And I thought that was absolutely genius.
Yeah, that's a servant company, and Apple's tend to do that. What they do, they're serving their clients, and it's important, especially when you're a big multiple trillion company. You got a lot of customers you need to take care of. So that's a cool story. Yeah. So let's do a shout out, Catherine. How people, somebody's listening wants you to talk to their company or talk to them. How can they find you?
Oh, anybody can find me on LinkedIn. Katherine McCord. I am one of 3 Katherine McCords in the United States, apparently, with my spelling that's on LinkedIn. So I'm very easy to find if you look me up. Also, kmccordspeaking.com is my speaking website. You can also just reach out to me directly there. And then my consulting website is titanmanagementusa.com.
I love it. I'll put that in the show notes so people will be able to reach out to you as well. And I'm going to do you a favor. The first 5 people that reach out to you, I'm going to send them a gift.
Oh, nice.
So let's motivate them to talk to you, because inclusion is so big right now. And we talked about websites and ADA. This is the future. I mean, fines are going to start becoming, and you need to take care of it now before bad things could happen. And that's why Catherine's here.
That's why I'm here. And it ultimately, by the way, it also saves you money if you do inclusion properly. And I fix talent acquisition with it and all that. So that's what I tell people. It saves you money. It just makes sense. And now you get presents.
Talk about that, how you save money. That's interesting to me.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other subject. So it's fascinating, because what happens is when you're having to spend less money on auxiliary benefits and less money covering for people who are always out, and when your people are less stressed, they can handle more of a workload comfortably. So you don't have to hire as many people. So you save on salaries and things like that. And then your hire process becomes a lot more simple. So that costs less money. And then it just starts to add up over time. It's really extraordinary.
That's interesting. That's because the biggest problem with companies is your employees.
Oh yeah.
That's why people are going online, and companies are telling to stay home. You have to deal with them in the office, because we know there's issues with that. We're dealing with humans. Anytime you deal with humans, because you've dealt with that. So the ROI is basically increasing, is what you're telling for companies.
Yes.
With this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it increases very much. And like I said, it's from hiring all the way through employee satisfaction. And then as you start to learn to make your customers more comfortable in a more natural fashion, you don't have to go above and beyond with some of the fluff stuff. And then you can save money there as well.
What's the biggest mistake a company makes when it comes to inclusion? That's kind of general across the board. If there is one, maybe there's not.
Oh, yeah. There's a few. Actually, one of them's kind of funny, and this is a new one. And I know what this is. This is an attempted at inclusion, but it's just all of it's just wrong. And it's that now companies in the application process are asking people things like what is their disability specifically? What is their sexuality?
Hmm.
And I'm just going, no,
Interesting.
both for legality reasons that and civil reasons, folks, that could get you sued. Please do not do that. And also, it's a big ick factor. It makes people feel like you want to discriminate. I realize that it's an attempted inclusion, but not. It's not landing well. Instead, send out anonymous surveys. If you're trying to make sure that your process is inclusive, you could do that and anonymously make sure they understand it's anonymous. Putting it as part of the application is weird. That's a very awkward situation. Another one is making the mistake that everybody's needs will be met by this one very simple solution, or making inclusion exclusive is another big one. A lot of
Yeah.
companies only address maybe gender issues, LGBTQ and race, kind of the quote big three, but you're leaving off 11 other 11 or 12 other
Yeah.
categories, and that's just kind of broad stroke, and then each one kind of needs its own individual attention. So treating it like it's a very simple solution or like it's very limited is another huge mistake that people make.
Well, that's a great reason for people to reach out to you,
Thank you.
because these are things that you need to, and like anything, this is not something that part of your SOP, part of your playbook
Right.
is this stuff. It's new, and that's where you're here to help. And I
Right.
love
Yeah.
that.
It's not a failure to need help with this. This is a new concept. This is something that humans are just now figuring out. You're not bad for not knowing. It's okay. It's just what do you do to fix the problem?
Yeah.
What do you, when you, now that you know, what are you doing to fix it?
Get it fixed. I love that. That's a great phrase. Remember, listeners, reach out to her. We're running out of time here. And I want to thank you for being on the show, because I think people are going to reach out to you, because this is big, and it's something that makes the world better,
Yeah,
inclusion. And so
it
this is
does.
a bigger topic than we're probably saying right now, but I think people can understand that. I can ask a favor from you.
Always.
Can you leave me a tip for my audience that's helped you through your journey in life?
Yeah, you know what? And I kind of touched on it earlier, but this really changed my life. And I mean that in the most sincere and beautiful way. Breaking your ego defense and learning to step outside of what you know and what makes you comfortable, and listening to other humans and really coming to understand them. And instead of responding in anger or frustration, which is a perfectly natural thing to do, by the way, but again, not helpful, respond with curiosity. Do that with your friends, your family, your partner, your children. Listen to your children. I know sometimes I say some crazy off the wall stuff, but there's also some wisdom in there too. And at work, listen to the people, respond with curiosity, not ego, and it will expand you as a human in all the right ways.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.